Spanning over 6 decades, Jimmy Ryan has done it all in his incredible career in music. From collaborating with some of music's biggest stars to penning themes for network TV, it all could be traced back to a natural ability he discovered in his youth.
My mom was a singer and a piano player, so was my dad, and there's always music around the house. What happened that was kind of transformative for me is I heard a song on the radio, and we had this big Kanabi piano. It's just a piece of junk, and the keys were about here on me when I was that age. And I heard the song on the radio. I just went over the piano and dee, 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 dee. And the melody just kind of came out of my hand. And my mom says, "What? How did you?" And I said, attention.
This small seed of talent lay dormant until a few years later, when American Bandstand hit the airwaves and Jimmy found himself exposed to legends like Elvis and Buddy Holly. But his interest wasn't sparked in the typical fan sense. He didn't just want to watch them, he wanted to be like them.
I want to be them. I want to be holding that Fender Stratocaster singing those songs. I don't want to sit in the audience. So I twisted my parents' arm and said, I got to have a guitar. I got to play guitar. So, to make a long story short, they didn't get me a guitar. They rented me a guitar because they weren't sure. And I took a few lessons and I hated reading music. So I would always make my teacher play the lesson first so I could just get the feel for it. And then I'd just play what I heard her play. I wouldn't look at the sheet on the thing like that. I got caught for doing that.
When Jimmy turned 15, he and some friends formed a band called The Critters. Like any garage band, The Critters started out playing at parties and high school dances. But as a few years passed, everyone in the band realized that they wanted to pursue music for real.
Well, by the time I was 19, I had a record deal, and we had our first hit record, a thing called Younger Girl. And that made it into the top 30, I think, in the United States. And then we followed that up with a second one that one of the guys in the band wrote, Don Ciccone, called Mr. Dyingly Sad. And that made it into the top 10. And then the third time around, I wrote this song, a song called Don't Let the Rain Fall Down on Me. So now we've got 3 top 40 hits.
Unfortunately, the band's streak of good luck came to an end with the start of the Vietnam War. Half of the members enlisted, causing the Critters to fizzle out. But all wasn't lost for Jimmy and his music career. Almost immediately, another opportunity came knocking.
At the end of that, the new keyboard player, the replacement, called me and said, well, if we're not going to do this, I just got a call to do another job that you might want to do. Can you still play bass? I said, of course I can still play bass. What's the gig? And I'm thinking it's a bar band or something like that. He says, you ever hear The Crazy World of Arthur Brown? And I said, yeah, the song Fire, Fire. Da, da, da. Well, I toured with The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. That was my summer job that year. So that was hysterical.
When Jimmy came home from the tour, he was hired to work at a local guitar store. It was a great place to meet and network with other musicians. One of the people he met was the store owner's girlfriend.
Her name was Carly Simon, and she was a secretary at the time. She didn't have a record deal. She wasn't on anybody's A-list to go and see. But eventually, she left my boss. I left him too. I was starting to get session work as a session player. And she called me and said, I got a deal. You want to come and play on my record? I said, damn right I do. That'd be great. So I did her first album, and then I did her second album, and then I did her third album. And I did almost everything for 21 years with this wonderful woman. Through working with her, met people like Elton John, ended up working with him on Kiki Dee's first album. I met Cat Stevens, ended up doing an album with him. Jim Croce was one of my college buddies. And when he heard that I was a bass player, he called me and said, hey, you want to come play on my first record? I said, sure do. So that was You Don't Mess Around with Jim.
Carly constantly had other stars dropping by the studio to visit and sometimes lend a hand. Jimmy recalls one evening the group had some issues with harmony vocals on a James Taylor cover.
Let me hear this voice. Richards tells me you're having a bit of trouble out there. Could you use some help? And I went, I know that voice. And I looked around the baffle. Bloody hell, it's Paul McCartney. These are the kind of people that hung out with Carly. She was like a magnet for famous dudes. After Paul McCartney helped us do the arrangement, most of the people in the studio went home. It was just Carly, Richard Perry, and Paul. And Paul says to us, they asked me to write a theme song for a movie. He said, I knocked something out. I don't know whether it's any good. You guys want to hear it? So Paul sits down and he plays us Live and Let Die. And the next day, he recorded it with Wings in the London Symphony Orchestra, or whoever that was. And we got to sit in. He says, well, we're going to record it tomorrow. You want to come over and take a look? And we said, sure, we're going to be here anyways.
With Jimmy's presence as a studio session musician, more doors started to open for him, and he came into new opportunities he never even dreamed of.
So I started writing music directly for TV stations, and I became news guy. So all the music you hear on CNBC today, from 2005 to today, the themes contained in that music is my theme. I wrote the theme in 2005, and they're still using it to this year.
In 2010, another case of being in the right place at the right time type of gig fell at Jimmy's feet.
This person had put the old Four Seasons back together, the guys who did Who Loves You and Oh What a Night and all that, and we had Jerry, the drummer, who sang Oh What a Night. And they said, do you want to join our band? We're going out as a band called the Hitmen. I said, yes. 10 years of playing with the Hitmen. It was really fun. We were doing Four Seasons songs better than Frankie Valli, because these were the guys that sang it, that arranged it. Lee in the band was the arranger on these songs. And it was really fun, but then COVID ended that. So now, during that period of time when I wasn't doing anything, I wrote a book, The Superstar Chronicles. It's on Amazon. After 2 years, it's still holding on to a 5-star review, which means nobody disliked it.
In the years that followed, Jimmy put together a solo retrospective performance where he explores the anatomy of a hit song. Through live examples and stories from stars and musicians behind the scenes, he reveals how these iconic songs came together.
And I am so grateful, and that's where we are today. And now you're going to put that into 5 minutes.